escape. Now this bike is testament to, if you buy a good bike from the outset, even when neglected, they will keep running. So this bike clearly been stored for quite a while in a shed, not a dry shed, because there's lots of rust on it, covered in cobwebs, which I will show you shortly. That the bike, with probably minimal amount of servicing, is going to ride like perfect. This is not jammed up brakes, shifters not working, bearings shot, etc. This bike, despite its looks, is actually in extraordinarily good order. So in this video I'm going to show you what we're going to need to do to get it back on the road. So I'm going handheld in this one because I need to show you the detail on all what's wrong with this one. So as you can see, we have got cobwebs, we've got corrosion on bolts, etc. You know, brake guide noodles there, all corroded. Mudguard mounts. Tires are completely flat, and you can just see the stour, as we say in Scotland, the condition of this bike. I mean, even the chain is completely rusty. Looks like it's possibly had a cassette at one time. Coming up here, again, just cobwebs everywhere. Clearly just been sitting in a shed or something for quite a while. But you know what? I've had a look over this bike and absolutely everything works. I mean, literally everything works. The brakes work great. You know, they just look perfect. Like, fractional adjustment needed. It's up here as well. Back brake. The shifters are working. I've spun the wheels around, etc. They're all working great. Everything. I'll tell you what I do like. Look at this little bell setup. How it's built in to the brakes and stuff. I think that's brilliant. And it's a fantastic bike. It's so light, aluminium framed, etc. You've got all your mud guards, etc. on this. This is going to be an absolutely brilliant commuter bike. And as I say, minimal amount of work. We're going to have this up and running, and this will be another donation going to the local bike library. But just give this a run up. I'll show you what I mean about the shifting. Back down. 1, 2, 3. That's what I'm saying. This, I've done nothing. I haven't put oil into it or anything. Absolutely. Okay, wee rub there. But everything working as it should. Brakes. Boom. This bike you could literally just take out and ride it, apart from the chain. And to be honest, I think actually I might be able to bring this back. I'm going to pop that chain off. I'm going to put it in my degreaser, and I'm actually going to see if I can revive this. But what we're going to do, we're going to do our usual M check, as we always do. We're really not going to need it, but we're doing it. So obviously checking, playing the front wheel, nothing there. Playing the forks, nothing there. Seat post I've already checked, did that before I put it in the clamp. Down to the bottom bracket, absolutely solid and quiet. Nothing on the back wheel, spins great, freewheel hub works great. Again, testament, because it's a giant bike, it's a quality bike, so even when neglected, everything still works well. Now it has clipless pedals on it, so we'll need to take those off, because whoever's going to end up with this bike is not going to have a set of those, so we're going to do that. I'm going to just give this bike a service and get it working. Ultimately what I am going to do, albeit I probably don't need to, but just to make it look nice and presentable, I'll probably do things like changing the noodles out, probably change the cables, etc. I don't think they need them. New chain, but I'll see if I can get that one working, just to show you that this could be a Facebook Marketplace bike, and actually, apart from the state of it, it might actually need very little. So let's get started. So as always, we're going to get the wheels off it. So this one's got the quick releases, so we just back them off. Let's see, all working, albeit a little bit corroded. Oh, of course, I always forget to do that. We need to take the brake clamps off first, so we just pull that out. Boom, wheel down. Number one. Now around to the back. What we want to do, move our gears into down to the smallest cog. And that'll make it easier to swing that out. Again, shifter, give it a couple of thingies, just unwind it slightly. No, remember brakes, forgetting once again. They're open. Pull the derailleur back. Derailleur, not derailleur as I keep saying. Wow, it's got a lot of tension on it. Oh, I think we could. No, it's still moving. It was just a little bit sticky. Oh, that is. Yeah, so wheel off. Right, first things first. We're going to get the tyres pumped up. I'd use my compressor, but my compressor. Right, I've just shot up to 80 psi. I did not realise that. Must be the small volume. Right, I've got a little bit of an angle. See the. Where are we? Whoop, there. See the valve's at a bit of an angle, so I'm going to have to. Oh, right. Don't know if you see that though. See the tyre? Roached. That's a no good. That's all tearing. I'm a wee bit surprised actually, because I'm a bit surprised. I thought they're good quality tyres. Well, chances are if one's gone, the other one's gone. So you know what? We're going to bypass the wheels now. Okay, let's get started. We're going to get all the brake and shifter cables all lubricated, and once we've got them all pulled off, we can give the frame a wee clean, because this is definitely going to like it. I think it's like a matte finish, but don't know. There's some. Oh, it's like a black, but it's textured. Very nice. Right, so what I'm going to do, we'll get started. This is a precursor. We're just going to get some lube into the different bits. Just get them working. Anyway, with these sorts of things, anything would do. Any kind of oil, don't need anything fancy. Now, while we're here, I'm just going to put some lube into the backs of the shifters, etc. And also the brakes, you can see into there. Albeit, I think most of any tightness etc will be in the cables, because you can't take away from the fact that the bike is very dry, you know. Right, let's feel that shifter. Actually working quite nice, I reckon. Once we've got the cables lubed, that is going to be nice. There we go, let's give that a wiggle. Boom, 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 boom. Right, so let's expose the cable. So to do the shifter ones, easiest one is just shifting into the small gear here, pushing that in. You can actually see the cables are all slack now, and that can just push out. There we go, one done. Comes up along the bottom. Oh, right. Okay, this is interesting. It looks like we've got, just flip that up. If you can see it, we've got enclosed cables all the way, except for this last bit at the back, but it looks like it goes down to housings here for both shifters. I've got that, which is a bit of a pain. It just means where normally you can just pop off and slide the outer up and down and make a really quick job. I'm now looking like I'm going to have to either try and get some lube down at the other end and see if it does enough, or we might actually have to pull the cables out. And I just find once you pull the cables out, you can as well just replacing them. Now the good thing about these shifters, I don't know if you remember in my other video where we had the grip shifters, took ages to get them replaced, made the video really long, way longer than I wanted. But on these ones, I don't know if you notice, see there's like a, you see that? There's like a little hole in the back there. The cable should actually come out of there. Oh, it means I've got to disconnect it. You know what we're going to do? Because I think those cables are all really nice. Just going to put some lube down the hose and see if we can get that worked in that way. I think we'd probably be alright. That feels slicky already. do the rest of the hoses while we're at it. All the brakes are disconnected, so we can pull all them out. Let's pull them down. You can use any kind of oil. I'm just using a spray oil because, to be honest with you, it's what I've got right now, but also I just feel, you know what, that can travel down the cable. Oh, right, now to get the front one, we need to we drop the shifter down to the shortest one, so this has gone all the way in, and then when we pull that up back, the cable which drops down the back is actually going to become nice and slack. See, I've been able to pull it out at the front now, and we can use that slack. This, oh, I've lost my spout. I've lost my spout. Oh, there it is. We'll do, let's get a bit of lube on all this bit as well. What this does is, obviously it's going to lubricate the mechanism, but also as well, once I've cleaned it all down, it's going to protect all the screws, etc. as well, so they shouldn't start corroding later on. Right, brakes, we want to get some lube in here as well. That brake, so we just put that back into the housing, gives us a bit of slack at this end. There we go, and there you can see the noodle, so we'll pop that back in there, get the slack at this end. So I'm just hoping that we get a bit of gravity to pull that down. So that cable's actually moving dead free. I think we're going to avoid a lot of work. Right, so normally if there wasn't an enclosed housings, we could have all this away from the frame. I don't want to unscrew it just for cleaning, but that's the bike ready for cleaning. We can do that now. Okay, so muck off. Bike cleaner, just thinned 1 to 4. Just give this a good old spray all over it. Oh, it's going everywhere. I think you're better off with a spray bottle rather than a pump-up sprayer. Problem to the pump-up sprayers, they tend to deliver a lot more product. And I'm just going to use this is actually a muck off rag. The only difference is between a normal microfiber is just quite plush, so that's why I like them. Other than that, they're actually quite expensive, so any rags will do, but I just like these ones because they're extra fluffy, so I just feel it's doing a little bit more work, you know. Again, good quality bike component. I tell you what, I'm barely touching. Like, see things like the handlebars. Normally this would all be corroded, you know, but this is just all coming up nice. Coming up real nice. Oh yeah, this is nice. Actually, one thing I forgot to do, the back brake, we forgot to lube that. Once we got it cleaned, we'll get into that. Bit of flossing. This is a real weird texture. I've not experienced a bike with a texture like this. It's almost like, I don't know if you've heard of Raptor paint, which is like a sort of military paint. It usually just comes in matte green. I've seen people like painting old vans with them, and it's just like a super high texture paint that is very, very durable. I get the feeling, although I find this a bit weird on a road bike, but if it was on a mountain bike, I'd think, oh, that's a bloody good idea. Pop this up, you see what I'm doing. With guards, inside and out, do the fork legs. goodness. I have to say, see when you do work on a good quality bike, what a difference. Just, you know. And this bike is a donation, so very decent of the chap to make such a nice bike, but I believe he has a new one now. So didn't want this one, and obviously it's just sat out for a bit, can it? Because this is the problem, is like you let your bike sit out and then it just kind of gets away from you. So once you get a little bit of corrosion on it, you think, oh, I need to get round to doing that, and then you leave it a bit longer and a bit longer, and then once it gets to that point, you're just like, oh, like I'm tapping out, you know, I'm tapping out. Look at that, what a difference already. I mean, I've just literally wiped it down. There's a few other things we can do just to get it really popping, but considering that's all I've done, it is not bad at all. Okay, let's have a look. Right, what I'm looking for is a quick link. Bingo, we found it straight away. That makes my life a lot easier. I just need a quick link tool. This is what we're looking for. This is actually from my cheap toolkit. What it does is, there's it here. You just put it on either side of the link. I don't even see the link. It's got like a little gap on one side. In fact, it's literally just clicked straight away. There we go. So I'm going to do, because these tend to fall off, I'll pick them off just now. And then I can just pull the chain off. As I say, it's pretty rusty, but I mean, for the purposes, I'm going to see if I can get a lot of that rust off, which I think I can. However, we will be putting a new chain on. I mean, for the cost of a chain, we can put one on, because I think that's I think we're running like an 8-speed on the back, 8-speed cassette, which means 8-speed chains are super cheap. Okay, so back to the brake cable. I was going to take all this out and get this lubed. It doesn't really need it, but you know what? This is what I would normally be doing. Without the tension on it, the housing can actually just, I don't know if you can see it under there, it can pull back and drop down, and that allows that whole section to come forward. And then, again, I just use my wet chain lube, and we can just pop that on the cable, just like that. Just run it back with our fingers, and then just run the cable backwards and forwards, and that will lube up. So what it's going to do is going to lube the outer and the inner, but it's also going to give it a little bit of rust prevention for the future. And now we can do the same on the back. That's the cable there, so we can just pull the out. See, that's it out now, and that's it pulling all this away. Should have done that earlier. I think I got a bit sidetracked with the covered in cable, the full length outers. See, and just run that backwards and forwards. Now normally everything would be like this, the shifters as well, but sadly in this bike they've got them put full on shifters all the way down, which obviously protects the cables a bit more, but does make life a little bit harder. So we can just hook that back in there. I can go back in there. In fact, oh, see, those brakes are lovely and smooth now. Right, we just slacken. It just means we'll have to go back and adjust it, but you know, that's no biggie. Oop, get the right one. Just slacken that off. We don't want to go crazy. I just want the cable to run back. I don't want it to come out completely. See, now we've got all that extra slack for the cable. Oh, I wish this camera had a wider lens. That now allows that to come out much more, so we can get more lube on it. Oop, overdo it with that stuff. Chain lube. In fact, what we could do is as I've done my other videos. You can just drop that out, see, comes out. Oh, go there, boom. That's just going to give us a little bit more room. Now we can even go down to the bottom and get some lube on there as well. Look at that, see, backwards and forwards. And that'll make a huge difference. Right, I'm going to just hook that back in. Pull that up, run it along. Whoop, slot's moved slightly. Run it along the slot. What we can do is run the adjuster back, and that's good. So what I'll do, I'll leave that slack and we'll come back to that at the end. Okay, time for tyres. So this one is actually the good tyre, although the wear and tear on the tread is quite low, and for the cost of the tyres, which I've picked up, these are about £15 each. These are rally tyres, 700 by 32Cs. So these will be going on. So although one of them I could get away with, we'll just replace both because this is going to be a really nice bike. One of the good thing is we know is that the inner tubes are good because the air's still inside the tyre and still had good pressure. Boom. Go, one inner tube, one dead tyre. Let's get the new tyres, how that's sitting on the bead. Looking not too bad. Once it's on the bike we'll give all that a clean. But that's looking not too shabby. Okay, time for wheels. Just derailleur out the way. Up she comes. Do that up. Use your knee to get there all the way. Another good one to do with this is actually putting the bike on the ground, and that'll make sure it's completely in the hangers. But again, before, like I said this in an earlier video, you want to make sure you've got the even gaps at the top, otherwise your brakes are not going to work. There we go. Lovely and smooth. It's coming along real nice. Right, front wheel. And on with the front. So round that way. Wheel up, check gap, and tighten. Just gotta get this skewer angled back slightly. So that rather come up the side of the fork. Ooh, smooth as you like. Okay, looping back around to the brakes, although the brakes are absolutely fine, as you can see this guide here is a little bit rough, and we could just clean that up with some steel wool, but I have actually gone out and gotten another one. So we're just going to pop that on. But first we need to take the cable out. So use my cable cutters, we'll need to cut the end off. Now we're not taking the cable out all the way, but we will need to pass all this out over the top of it. There we go. Here's the new one. Now when you're picking these up, do double check the angle, because you get them where, as you can see, this one is not 90 degrees, it's over 90 degrees. So that's definitely worth noting. Just put a little bit of lube in there. goes. Because that cable's obviously been clamped. It's a little bit tight, but the tight part's going to be on the outside, so there'll be no problems there. Slip the boot back on, then we can feed that back through. Just loop that around like that. What I'm going to do is so you see that now, I'm just going to nick it up just now, and then I'll adjust that later. You see that'll be able to go right back into there. So in fact, actually, you know what, we've got the wheel in, may as well just hook all this back in just now. So at the moment there's going to be way too much brakes, so what we want to do is, in fact, just so the whole thing doesn't pop all back through, I'm going to put the ferrule over the end as I've got it. There we go. Right, now as before, we just slacken that off. There we go. Pull the cable through until it's pretty much tight, and then we just want to allow a tiny bit of slack to come through, and then we can pinch it back up, give the brakes a wee test. But they'll need a wee bit adjusting side to side, but travel wise they're absolutely fine, so we can just nick them up, bend that down, and now we can adjust the wee screws on the side to get that working sweet. Okay, so you can see that the brakes are only really operating on one side, but we know they work okay because I can put tension on that side. But how they are not working is that, because depending on the wee tension screws on either side will depend on what way it's being pushed over, and at the moment it's stuck against the wheel. You hear that, not spinning at all. So it's not that, so it's that the spring isn't tight enough, so it isn't pulling it back. So if I start adjusting the screw on this side, that should start kicking in. See, just there you go. Now it's gone quite a bit, so we can back that off, and just want to get the balance so it's coming in evenly on both sides as we are. Then that should give us a nice few spinning wheel, and boom, brakes on without too much travel on the lever. Okay, so we've got a similar thing going on that we had at the front. So if we put tension on that side, you know the brake lever's working okay, but the spring is if I pull it on and let go, you see it's not coming away from the wheel, it's rubbing again. So we need to apply it. You can either one of two things, either take the tension off the other side or increase the tension, or a little bit of both. So what we'll do is start putting the tension on this side, just to pull that pad back out, so it's starting to work. But if we were to run out, in fact, there we go, let me back that off slightly. So we've now got nice even amount on both sides. Let's crank up the back. Oh, can't crank up the wheel because there's no chain. There you go, perfect, boom, instant stop, perfect brakes. The thing to remember to do before you put your new chain on is remember to measure it out. So I've got the old one on the bottom, new one on the top, and just rather than measuring and cutting on the bike, you can actually do it here if you still have the original one. So that's the old one, which remember wasn't actually that worn. I think it had been replaced, but it hadn't been lubricated, so it's corroded instantly. I am going to see if I can try and deal with that and salvage it, but not for this bike. We're going to put a brand new chain on it. So you notice I've got the pin, which I'll be pushing back through. So to make life easier, so I'm not working in the back, I'm going to put the pin to my side, which will make it a little bit easier to get into. Although it's going to make it harder for feeding everything through, because normally you could feed it through from that side, but we'll go from this side. Let that drop. There we go. Okay. Much easier going the other way, but unfortunately it's just the way I did it. I'm going to put it around the smallest in there and the smallest there. It's just going to make it a bit easier for joining it together. So you might see one of these peculiar tools before and wondered what they are for when you get them in bike toolkits. Well, they're actually for this, for taking the tension out of a chain when you are joining it. See, I can now work on the chain without that being a problem. You haven't got the ends like tugging at you. There we go. And then we've got our chain tool, and that can now come in without all the tension on it. So this particular chain tool, you've got to remember to tighten it in from the back first to support the chain, otherwise it snaps the wee lugs off, which I have done. And Feedback Sports were kind enough to actually send me another chain tool, which was quite good. So just want to get that in until the pin is pretty much flush. Back it out, back the back out. There we go. But it's also worth checking to see, yeah, see we've got a tight link now. So to loosen that off, because you'll know about that when it goes round. Where the hell was it? Wasn't imagining it. So we just want to put a screwdriver in there and just get a wee twist. It just takes the tension off the link. There we go. Job's a good one. Let's see how this sounds like. There's a wee bit of a rattle from there. I think we're going to be needing some adjustments. So that all works good. Nice and fat. So put that to middle. So we've got a little bit of touch in here, so let's just see if that is the case. Pull out. Right, so it's dropping down but not instantly. Well, the middle's okay. Top's okay. So right, so maybe what we need to do is adjust the end stop in here. This one, just to let it, so I'm just blocking the light. Am I unscrewing the end stop or not? That's what I'm wondering. So let's step down. Yeah, it's just not wanting to, the problem is if I adjust that over there too much, the problem you can have is when we go to this gear, exactly that problem. Although that would be an insanely, that'd be for like crazy hills. So I'm going to have to put that back a wee bit. Even a bit less. There we go. I mean, I would typically ride in the middle one. I think that's actually not too shabby. I think that's actually working quite well. I might look back around and do a little bit more adjustment to that. It's just end up making this film too long. Film, who do I think I am? Producer. Right, I think, you know what, this is actually getting sweet as a nut, this bike. I have to say, I've really liked working on it. Obviously we're going to be swapping out these pedals because they're, I mean, no good, because even if the person had clipless pedals, I'm not overly familiar with them, but doesn't necessarily mean they're the same, and these ones do look quite corroded. So everything else looking good, so we just need to clean the wheels front and back. So we'll give this a spin. I'm just going to hit it with the muck off. Just get a nice fluffy rag. Then we just start feeding it through. Whoa, got that valve. Oh, remember we've got to find a clip for that valve, which I know I've got, but well, I need that quite slippy. And then through the spokes, let's go to the valve, and then we know where we've started. We should get 2 fingers through here. Yep. There we go. It's looking nice. Let's get the spokes a wee clean as well. So same again, give that a spin. And then clean. Not the easiest way to do it. I'm just trying to keep this rag in shot. And it's actually turning out to be a nightmare. Right, so that, see the wheel just keeps turning around right. Boom, job to good one. Pull that down, stop the wheel constantly going the other way.